everybody. Welcome back to Fire Your MD Now Radio. This is Mike Phillip filling in once again for Dr. Peter Glidden. October 31st, 2014. It's Halloween, and I'm dressed up as a fill-in radio show host. Call-in line is 844-374-5433. Once again, 844-374-5433. Now, I've been getting emails coming out of the pipeline here. I guess I should say the grapevine. There's been people trying to get a hold of me, and they got the wrong email address. Now, this is specifically aimed at you Americans, okay? My email address is mike@teamglidden.ca. If you put .com at the end of that, it's going to go to a lady in Seattle who is sick and tired of getting emails that are meant for me. So, mike@teamglidden.ca. And if you want to get involved in this grassroots coalition of the willing, coalition of the informed, people that are tired of seeing their friends, community, and family get sick and die slowly at home or in the hospital as though they were being slowly tortured to death, get a hold of me and let's get together. Let's figure out a way out of this, because I've had enough. And that's the reason why I'm here. Now, I'd like to start this show off by asking you a very simple question. Are you a sucker? Huh? Are you a sucker? Okay, when you're at the grocery store and you reach for that can of tomato soup that happens to have a pink ribbon on it, do you feel all good and warm and fuzzy inside because you think that you're doing something good for society, and specifically breast cancer? Let me ask you again. Are you a sucker? Now, October has been officially named by the Susan G. Komen Foundation Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, I think we were already aware that there was a disease called breast cancer. But the fact is, when you go and buy products that have a pink ribbon on it, is that actually doing something to solve the problem? Or did you just get to walk away feeling like you're such a good person because you're lazy and you didn't actually do anything? Well, I got a clip from Russia Today talking about just that. And we're going to play that now. Let's roll the clip. Listen up.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Pink ribbons and pink products are flooding the marketplace. But how much of the money from pink products actually end up at the organizations that fight the disease?
The pink ribbon is unregulated. Anyone can put it on anything, and they do. And some products bear pink ribbons and donate no money to any breast cancer program. Others donate mere pennies on the dollar.
Karuna Jagger is the executive director of Breast Cancer Action. They launched a campaign called Think Before You Pink that calls for companies who take part in breast cancer fundraising to be transparent. Susan G. Komen, one of the largest breast cancer organizations in the U.S., popularized the pale pink for breast cancer. Komen raises a lot of its donations through corporate sponsorships who sell pink products known as cause marketing. Carrie Glasscock, Komen's director of corporate relations, explains how her organization helps consumers see which products are actually contributing to breast cancer research.
With Susan G. Komen's corporate partners, our official corporate partners, you will always be able to tell right there on the packaging when you're making your purchasing decision that it's Susan G. Komen on, clearly listed on the packaging as the beneficiary. You'll also be able to tell exactly how much of your purchase is going back to the organization, what the company is donating back to Susan G. Komen.
One of the biggest Pinktober marketing campaigns is in a male-dominated industry. During the month of Pinktober, the NFL has teamed up with the American Cancer Society in their campaign, A Crucial Catch, where you can catch the players, the coaches, and referees all wearing pink products on the field. The NFL is also selling pink merchandise, where a percentage of the proceeds go towards breast cancer research. However, we found that only 8% of that actually goes towards that research. According to research by the Business Insider, only 8% of money spent on pink NFL merchandise is actually going towards cancer research. The retailer, often the individual team, keeps 50%. I asked a few Washington Redskins players what they think of this. What percentage of the proceeds from the NFL pink products are going towards breast cancer research?
I'm not really sure.
No. What percentage do you think would you expect?
At least half.
At least half?
At least half.
Would you be surprised to know that only 8% is actually going towards the research?
That is kind of shocking. That's news to me.
The NFL makes enough money every year to, donate everything they make for this, and, I think all of it should go, personally.
While the NFL has recently undergone some scrutiny for donating a small percentage to the cause, it seems to be on par with other cause marketing campaigns. Even Susan G. Komen, which claims to be the seal of approval for consumers.
A standard that we work with is 10% of the retail sales price.
The NFL also claims it's raising awareness for breast cancer. But Karuna says we're a nation that is already aware of breast cancer and it's time we focused on finding a cure.
NFL is making billions of dollars off of pink ribbon products, and we would like to see the money that they are spending on their marketing campaign to reach out to women actually go to do some good for the women that they claim to care about.
Breast Cancer Action also warns against pink washers, which are organizations that sell products in the name of breast cancer that contain harmful chemicals linked to causing breast cancer. Looks like many companies see pink as the new green. In Washington, D.C., Perry Unboring, RT.
So there you have it. 8% goes to research. 50% goes to the organization. In the case of the NFL, and we're talking billions with a B, billions of dollars. And I'm sure that they've got it actuated out to an actual percentage of people that, the fact that they think they're doing something about breast cancer might just tip the scales in favor of them making that purchase. Why, you ask? Because they get to walk away feeling all good, like they actually did something. But the fact is, you're lazy and you're ignorant. Sorry, facts are facts. Now here's the deal. Dr. Joel Wallach sued the FDA in order to get a qualified state health statement to be able to say legally that 200 micrograms of selenium per day would reduce the incidence of breast cancer 86%. And guess what? He didn't wear a pink ribbon when he did it. And apparently you could slap a pink ribbon or pink paint on anything. Now, this is funny, okay? I mean, breast cancer is no laughing matter. But this story is funny. I mean, this is from EcoWatch.com. Pink washing. Fracking company teams up with Susan G. Komen to end breast cancer forever. Right? We're going to frack to end breast cancer. Isn't that funny? So what they're going to do, Susan G. Komen has teamed up with Baker Hughes. Okay? And what they're doing is they're going to make pink drill bits for fracking. Okay? And these drill bits are going to come in a pink box, and it's going to go to a lease where they're drilling to frack, and some roughneck somewhere is going to open up that box, the pink box, and there's an information sheet on breast cancer that's going to go to a roughneck in the middle of nowhere. I mean, who's he going to tell about this? A caribou? And I'll tell you what, I used to work on the drilling rigs. I was a roughneck. And I'll tell you what your average roughneck's going to say. What the F is this? They don't care, okay? They're out there to get their job done and make a paycheck. Now, the largest breast cancer organization in America, with more than 100,000 volunteers and partnerships in more than 50 countries, has teamed up with Baker Hughes, one of the world's largest oil field service companies, with employees in more than 80 countries. Susan G. Komen hands out pink ribbons for breast cancer awareness, and Baker Hughes fracks. So there you have it, a pink fracking drill head. Now, let me ask you again, are you a sucker? The NFL is making billions off of your uninformed choices because you think you're doing something good when the fact is you're doing nothing. And I'll just bet you, none of these researchers will look into minerals and vitamins. They will not look into nutrifying your body to fight this. But it doesn't end there. So October was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Okay, now you're aware of that. Hasn't helped yet, but, you're aware of it. But don't worry, because November has been officially deemed Movember. You grow a mustache to gain awareness of men's health issues. So if you grow a mustache, people around you are going to know exactly what to do. And this is out of Global Toronto. During Movember, or the month previously known as November, thousands of men across the country will start clean-shaven and grow their mustache for 30 days, getting friends, family, and colleagues to join their team and donate to their Mo growing efforts. Meanwhile, women, or Mo sisters, some of which probably have a mustache too, I'm guessing, will act as ambassadors and help spread the word about men's health. It's about caring about your dad, uncle, father, son, husband, said Pete Bombacki, country director of Movember Canada. The movement keeps growing because people are increasingly understanding it's not just the mustache, but about helping each other and becoming more involved and aware about men's health. Well, how are you going to get involved if you don't even know what you're doing? For 3 years in a row, Canada was among the top fundraisers in the world in raising money for Movember, an annual campaign that aims to increase awareness and engagement about men's health, with a particular focus on prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and men's mental health. Last year alone, the country raised more than $33.9 million, bringing the total to $151.6 million since Canada first became officially involved in the Movember movement in 2007. Now, I want you to remember those numbers, because I'm going to show you just in a little bit how little of that is actually used for anything that probably doesn't work in the first place. Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. We're going to talk to Hattie in Chicago after this. Welcome back, everybody. We are live. Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden on this Halloween, October 31st, 2014. Call-in line is 844-374-5433. And we are going to go over to Hattie in Chicago. How you doing, Hattie?
Hi, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing all right, Hattie. I've talked to you before, haven't I?
You know what? We most certainly have.
Yes, we have. So tell me how you're doing today.
Well, I'm doing phenomenal. I have a client of mine whose mother is in the hospital, and she wanted to talk to you. And I was just about to conference her in.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, conference her in. I'd love to talk to her. Apparently, we're having a little bit of dead air here, folks. We're just waiting for Hattie in Chicago to patch in her friend who's in the hospital. Can you still hear me, Hattie? No, Hattie's busy. Okay. So before the break, we were talking about Movember. And I got some numbers for you that are going to blow your mind. People are being tricked into paying all these charitable organizations to absolutely do nothing. And it's just crazy. Hattie, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Unfortunately,
Okay.
Anyway, she just called me and told me that her mother was rushed to the hospital and that she had fluid on her lungs, and they tried to give her medications, and her kidneys started acting crazy. So anyway, she wanted to talk to you, and so I didn't get a lot of details from her because I wanted her to talk to you, but I can't get her on the other line.
Okay, you know what? That's fine. Let's just talk a little bit about lung health, okay, Hattie?
Okay.
Here's the deal. You're talking to a guy who had major lung problems my whole life. I mean, summer camp was the worst time ever for me because I had asthma and, it was terrible. I laid in my cabin while all the other kids were running in and out telling me how great archery and canoeing and stuff was. And I struggled to breathe for like a week. And my mother, God bless her, she read somewhere that inhalers were bad for your heart. So she wouldn't let me have an inhaler at that time. So as a result, summer camp was just awful. But, lung health is no laughing matter. And there's a lot of people that are struggling with it these days. Now, Lungs absolutely need essential fatty and amino acids. Okay? So what I would do if I was your friend is I would get her mother on the EFA Plus. Now, I don't know this woman or how much she weighs, but speaking as somebody who used to have lung problems that are absolutely gone, I mean, if things were the way they were before, you could probably hear me wheezing over the air. And yeah, I take about 15 EFAs a day, and I don't have any problems with my lungs. Okay, now the other side of this is selenium. Now, before the break, we were talking about breast cancer and selenium, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for the lungs. Your lungs crave selenium. So, you know, it's a mineral deficiency and an amino and fatty acid deficiency, and this is something that should be easy to get on the other side of. But the moron doctors just want to shoot more and more drugs at people and basically just keep them going long enough to pay the bill, and then they don't want nothing to do with you after that. And you know what I'm talking about, don't you, Hattie?
Yes.
Yeah, so this woman, I would get her on a healthy brain and heart pack, 1 per 100 pounds of body weight, and I would definitely up the EFAs if they can get extra amino and fatty acids into this lady. I predict that will go a long way to helping her out with her lung health. So I'm not allowed to say that amino and fatty acids cure lungs, and I'm not allowed to say selenium cures lungs. But so I'm not saying it, but I'm, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right?
Right.
So, Hattie.
Yes, sir.
What's going on with you? You said you're fantastic. Tell me your story.
Well, I'm a longevity. I love longevity.
Hattie, wait a minute. I hear the music. That means we're going to a break. Can I hold you over to the other side? We're going to talk to Hattie on the other side of this break. Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. We're back. Mike Phillip filling in once again for Dr. Peter Glidden. The call-in line is 844-374-5433. And you can contact me if you want to get involved in the party here at Longevity. Mike@teamglidden.ca is my email address. And before the break, we were talking to Hattie in Chicago, and I love Chicago. It's such a great town. I've had some of the best times of my life in Chicago, albeit few and far in between, but my family is from there, and I'm really liking Hattie. Hattie, you sound like a really chipper, upbeat person. And before that, we ran out of time. I'm a slave to the clock, just like anybody else. But you were talking about how things have been going with you, and I would like for everybody to hear what's happened with Hattie. So go ahead, Hattie.
Well, Mike, I'm a holistic practitioner here in Chicago.
Awesome.
And my whole thing is all about healing, because I agree that we don't have to suffer the way that we are.
Nope.
And when I ran into Dr. Wallach, I was just totally blown away, because for the first time, when you understand that you can give the body everything that it needs, and you don't have to worry about becoming a victim of getting cancer, high blood, diabetes, heart disease, fibromyalgia, any of that madness, that is so liberating.
It is. You know what? I'm glad you said that, Hattie, because it is liberating, because I remember a time when I used to spend my life worrying about, do I have lung cancer? Do I have a heart problem? And, it's just, fear ruins your immune system. Fear changes your whole body chemistry. And when you get the right information and put it into practice, just like you said, it's liberating. You don't have to live in fear of all these diseases that are constantly, you look into mainstream media and they're constantly talking about all these different diseases that you can get, and the medical system's going bankrupt. And it just makes you think, well, what am I going to do? Right? But boom, you find out the right information, you put it in your hands and put it into practice, and you don't have anything to be afraid of health-wise. So what have you seen since you got involved with the work of Dr. Joel Wallach, Hattie?
Well, it's people don't. A lot of people really truly just don't believe that it's easy because we try to make healthcare complicated.
Yep.
But my clients, within a couple weeks to a month, who are, diabetes, high blood pressure becomes a non-issue. And it's so funny because when their blood pressure comes down, right, they call me and they frantic. Hey, what's the matter? What's the matter? I said, well, what's up, man? Well, my blood pressure, it's like 112 over 70. I said, man, but it's never been this low. I said, I know, but it's all good, man.
I know. And it's funny, too, because you'll get people that'll contact you in the first place, and they're so worried about their blood pressure or diabetes. And you get working with them for a little while, and it doesn't take long most of the time. And, they'll get rid of the blood pressure, the diabetes, or the bone and joint pain's gone. And then they'll phone you up, and they'll be like, hey, my toe hurts. How come? If this stuff works so good. And you're like, okay, well, what good has happened for you? And they're like, oh, well, I got over the diabetes, and I got over the blood pressure. And but, it's... So, you got to spend a lot of time with the people that you're dealing with. And you know that better than anybody, being a holistic health practitioner in the city of Chicago. And so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yep. So it's, and to me, the amount of times in the last 3 years that I've seen people absolutely kick blood sugar issues to the curb, it's like, I got to be careful because when somebody tells me they've got diabetes, I'm like, oh, that's great. Right? Because I know how to get rid of it, right? And we don't heal anything. We don't cure anything. And we have to be really careful with our wording. And that says something about freedom of speech right there. But the fact is, you can do it. You got to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. And the fact is, there is hope out there, and if you're out there listening, take it from me and take it from Hattie here. You don't have to live in fear, and it's not just for you. It's for your mom. It's for your dad. It's for your kids, anybody around you. So, yeah. What else? What happened with you, Hattie? Did you overcome anything big, or were you basically healthy when you started?
I was basically healthy when I started. However, every year I would always get a really bad cold.
Yep.
That would last about a week or so. Not immune. I mean, just madness. Now I have not had a cold. I haven't gotten sick in so long. I don't even think about it. But the thing is, if I feel something coming on, I'll just take a little bit of colloidal silver and it's done.
I'm a big fan of colloidal silver.
Oh, I love it, man. I tell you, right now I'm encouraging everybody to get on some colloidal silver right now before the weather breaks.
Okay, be honest with me, Hattie. You went and got the flu vaccine, didn't you?
Hell no, excuse me, no.
Hell no. That was quick.
I don't believe in vaccines.
No, are you an insider with Dr. Glidden, Hattie?
I most certainly am.
Did you watch the first part of the vaccine webinars last night?
I didn't. I did get an email, but I was out. I was out and about, so I didn't do it. But I knew I would go back in it later and check it out. So.
Oh, you got to watch it. It was great. It was absolutely great. Dr. Glidden is a genius, and I'm really proud to call that man my friend, and I've learned so much from him. And like I said, we had so many health problems. You'd need to be born with 6 fingers on both hands to count them on your hands, right? Just with what we had in this household here. And there is no problem that you cannot overcome with the right information. But you have to be able to put that information into practice, right? Like, faith can move mountains, but are you willing to pick up a shovel? You got to be willing to do something.
Mike, just one last thing, and because I think this is really important, because as an adult population, our adult population is very sick. And one of the things I explain to parents in particular is this. If you're sick, you're teaching your children to be sick. And
you know what? You're totally right.
And so sometimes it's not just about you doing the right thing. It's about you helping your children and their legacy be healthier.
You're
So-
absolutely right. It's about being strong and standing up and giving that example. And you've run into this too, Hattie, and so have I, where you'll run into people that claim they want to get better, but in fact, they hold their illness close to them because it's just like Stockholm syndrome, where you identify with your captor after a while, and they love their disease. They get into social situations and everybody's happy, and they have to, well, my doctor said my numbers are getting worse. You know what I mean? And they just
I know.
suck all the air out of the room. So, stop it, get on track, find out what you need to get over it, and teach your children to be healthy and strong, and let's rebuild America. And that's enough for my inspirational speech, Hattie. Hattie, thank you so
yes.
much for calling in.
Michael, thank you, dear. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Maybe
Take
I'll
care.
run into you at a Longevity conference one of these days.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right,
Bye, honey.
take care,
Thank
Hattie.
you.
We're going to let you go, and we're going to jump over to Diana in California. Diana, how you doing?
Hey there. How you doing?
Hey there. I'm doing well. Now you sound just as happy as Hattie.
Yay! Longevity Nation.
Yeah, you betcha.
Yes. We are insiders with Dr. Glidden, and we are totally on board with Longevity and have
Awesome.
had the most amazing experience and transformations in our life, my husband and I both. And my husband's actually a chiropractor out here in California. And, we've met Dr. Glidden at conventions and so on and so forth. But a few weeks ago, he had a situation where the side of his neck, his salivary gland, became very inflamed and swollen.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in excruciating pain. We went in to get a CAT scan, and it showed that he had a 1 centimeter stone blocking the duct.
Aha.
So I wanted to, it's just so kind of like weird and ironic that he was in so much pain. So they extracted it, they got it out, and there was a big bad strep infection behind it. So
Right.
they're treating that. But,
Okay.
we've been on the products for almost 2 years now, and Healthy Start 2.0, selenium, some glucogel, all the good stuff, pollen burst. So we're just like, kind of in shock, and we want to know if you guys know,
Yeah,
what is
you're
it?
yeah, you're thinking to yourself, how could this happen? I take everything, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. So, yeah, stones in the salivatory glands can be referred to as, what do they call it? Salivary calculus, they call it. That's, like Dr. Glidden likes to say, fancy schmancy doctor talk.
Yeah.
So, whenever you see a buildup or a deposit of calcium anywhere, and it sounds counterintuitive, but that points to a calcium deficiency. So, how much of the OsteoFX is your husband taking per day?
Yeah. He takes about a capful in the morning in an ounce of orange juice, as how Dr. Glidden recommends it for absorbency,
Yep.
and one at night.
Yeah, so I'm guessing your husband weighs about 200 pounds.
Right, a little bit less,
A
actually.
little bit less. Okay, yeah. Now, Diana, I'm going to refer back to a similar situation that happened with me and my wife. Same thing. We were taking everything just like we were supposed to. And after about a year, she developed stage 1 hypertension. And, same thing, high blood pressure, calcium
Right.
deficiency. I got a hold of Dr. Glidden, and he said to actually double up on it. And so we did that, and we were able to clear up the problem. Now, you'll be trucking along with Longevity, and you're using everything per body weight, the correct amounts that Dr. Wallach will tell you to use, and things can still crop up. And the fact of the matter is, we need massive amounts. So if you find things like this happening, all you do is refer back to what Dr. Glidden or Dr. Wallach talks about the cause of it, and you hit it harder. Okay?
Okay.
So what I would suggest to do if you're finding that happening, if it were me, I would take an extra ounce of OsteoFX per day. Now, as far as the infection goes, just have him take the plant-derived minerals and hold it in his mouth as long as he possibly can. Okay?
Straight up?
Yep, straight up. An ounce of it. Hold it in his mouth. And don't tell me he doesn't like the taste, because I hate hearing that. Okay?
It's just bath water.
Yeah, it's not tasty, okay? I heard Dr. Glidden describe it as water that's been in a garden hose in the sun with a dead mouse in it. Diana, wait right there. We're going to come back to you. I'm going to put you on hold. This is Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. We're going to go talk with Princess Diana in California after these messages. Live on Fire Your MD Now Radio, Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden, October 31st, 2014, Halloween. I used to love Halloween when I was a kid. It was my favorite time of year. Well, one of them anyways. I mean, Christmas, there's the presents, right? But Diana, I was thinking during the break, now if he can't do that with the plant-derived minerals, okay. Now, to battle the infection, the colloidal silver can go a long way to fighting infection. And same thing, if he can take that and hold it in his mouth as long as possible, it's gonna absorb into his body really fast. And those salivatory glands are right there. So chances are that'll knock out the infection and the inflammation and pain really quickly. Have you guys tried that?
No, I haven't, but I actually have that, and I use it on a little fungus that I have.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So.
Does it work?
You know, it's where I feel like my nail lifting, and I feel like a little bit of pain in that area, so I think it's getting it. I just wasn't sure how many times I'm supposed to apply. I've been applying it twice a day.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about colloidal silver, and people are kind of scared of it, right? Like, it's funny because, you know, I talk to people on a regular basis who are on 20 different drugs, and I tell them about colloidal silver, and they're like, oh, you got to be careful with that, right? So
yeah, right.
they're on all these pharmaceuticals that have been proven to kill people, but they're so scared of turning blue, which is the absolute worst thing that's going to happen from colloidal silver. But I'll tell you this, in my neck of the woods, and, you know, I live in a little town that nobody's ever heard of, and around here, a lot of people actually make their own colloidal silver, and I have never, ever, ever once heard of somebody turning blue. Now, if I ever get an infection, which does not happen anymore, it used to,
right,
but it doesn't happen anymore, I just grab the bottle and drink it straight out of the bottle. I'll just grab a mouthful, hold it in my mouth so it absorbs into the body through underneath the tongue, or I'll apply it topically with a spray bottle or whatever the case might be. And it absolutely knocks out any infection I've ever had. So, you know, what I have found is the plant-derived minerals, if a person doubles up on what they're using, it totally wipes out infections. So the fact that he's got calcium deposits forming tells me that he's not getting quite enough, and I would use just a little more of the OsteoFX, up that a bit. See, here's the deal. You start out with longevity, and you overcome a myriad of health issues. That does not mean that things can't crop up in the future, and that's why it's prudent for a person, you know, to become an insider and learn as much as they possibly can by listening to the show every day. See, I'm just like you. You know what I mean? I listen to the show every day. I'm an insider. I put these things into practice with people around me, and I watch and I learn, right? So, you know, from everything I've learned.
You learn something new every day, yeah.
You do, that's right. And if you ever stop learning, well, I don't know. That's a bad sign, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah, if I was you, Diana, I would give him an extra ounce a day of the OsteoFX. And for the infection to knock it out, I would use the plant-derived minerals and colloidal silver, and that should take care of it pretty quick.
Yes, both like separately though. So because I add plant-derived minerals to our BTT every day.
No,
I add
that's
it to
fine.
it, and then so gargle with it, hold it under his tongue, and the plant and the colloidal silver both.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? I mean, there's already silver in the plant-derived minerals, okay? So it's not going to hurt to double up on it. But the fact is, you want those silver molecules to hit that infection directly. So, holding it in the mouth, I believe, would go a long way towards that. Diana, we got a hard break coming up. I can let you go, or I can hold you over to the other side if you got more things you want to talk about.
I'm gonna let you go help other people. Thank you so much, Mike.
Diana, you take care of yourself. Thanks so much for calling. This is Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. We got a hard break, but we'll be back after this. Welcome back, everybody. We are live. Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. Is October 31st, 2014. Call-in line is 844-374-5433. Now, if you want to get involved with Youngevity and you want to have a superb team backing you up, I got people. All right? Get a hold of me, Mike at teamglidden.ca. Once again, Mike at teamglidden.ca. Let's jump over to the phone lines, and we're going to talk to Jay in Wyoming. Jay, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
Well, I'm doing great, man, and I got to tell you, I was telling Hattie I love Chicago, but I love Wyoming. Yellowstone Park is one of the greatest places in the world. Do you live there near Yellowstone?
We're a couple hours away from Yellowstone. Both my wife and I are both distributors. And I tried to sign up for Dr. Glidden's Insider subscription last night.
Okay.
It was about 10 o'clock my time. And we got the confirmation that the purchase was made, but we didn't get the second email that said, gave my login and all that information.
Okay, so they took your money, but after that, you're not sure what to do.
Right.
Okay, so what you do is, you gave them a password and all your login information, right?
I was supposed to get a email that gave me that stuff, but I never got the email.
You never got the email, but you did get an initial email saying that the purchase had been made, so they do have the right email address.
Right.
Okay, so what we're going to do about this, I'm going to help you out. I want you to shoot me an email, Mike at teamglidden.ca, and I'm going to get a little bit more information after the show here and see what I can do about this. But what you can do is go on the site, and there's a section where it says open a ticket, okay? And if you open a ticket, then you can put in whatever information you want, and then a member of Team Glidden will contact you, and that should all be straightened out for you.
Right. I already did that, and I'm still waiting to hear back from somebody. This is 3 o'clock in the afternoon here.
Yeah, and you want access to your insider account, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Now I've never heard of this happening before, but I guess there's always a first. And I'll tell you, there's nobody wanting to rip you off there, but mistakes happen. We're all human, right? So we'll get this figured out for you, Jay. Shoot me an email, and okay. I'll get a hold of the right people. It's Mike at teamglidden.ca, 2 D's in Glidden, and I'll see what I can do to help you out with that.
Yeah, as in Canada, right?
Yeah, I'm in Western Canada. I'm right above you in Alberta here.
Okay.
All right, Jay, so you guys are distributors. What have you guys noticed in your life since you got involved?
Oh, big difference.
Oh, I want to hear all about it, Jay.
Last year, I was diagnosed with heart failure. I spent 3 weeks at the University of Colorado. My blood pressure was through the roof, and The doctor said, "Oh, you're going to be on all this medication for the rest of your life. You know, we don't know how long you're going to live." And they said, you're just going to be needing all this medication. Well, that was March of last year. July of last year, my wife got us started on Youngevity, and I was only taking Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the original, 1 time a day, 2 scoops, 1 time a day. And July of this year, I was retested, and they said, your heart failure's gone.
So it went from a failure to a success story.
Right.
And that was just with the Tangy Tangerine.
That was only with Beyond Tangy Tangerine.
Wow. So you know what? Go ahead, sorry.
No phase, or OsteoFX, although I have added those since then.
Yeah, that's amazing. It was the same thing with me and my wife. When we first started out, all we had was the original Tangy Tangerine, and it just made a huge, huge difference. Like, it's like my vision switched over to HD in about a week, and I had so much energy, I didn't know what to do with myself. And you're talking to a guy who, there was times when I couldn't even get off the couch for like 2 weeks. I had so little energy, but yeah, even just that little bit of nutrition can make such a big difference in a person's life. So, Jay, I want to help you get things going with your insider account however I can. If you don't get an answer on that ticket, I'll see what I can do to push some buttons, because you paid for it and you should have it, and that's the fact of the matter.
Yeah, I also had very bad sciatica.
Okay.
Where I absolutely could not walk. I couldn't even stand up, hardly, without assistance from my wife. And within a couple of months, it's gone away. I can walk. I can even go for a run now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So, heart failure, sciatica, anything else?
Really high blood pressure, and that's normal now.
Yep. Normaled right out. And so since then, you've added a couple things, the OsteoFX, and that's about it, or the EFAs, or what?
Well, we were taking the regular Ultimate EFA, but to kind of give us better leeway on our budget, we went with the Prohoba Omega, because we both eat a lot of meat, so...
Yeah, that's a good product as well, and it is a little bit cheaper, and there's, 120 or 180 in there?
120.
Yeah, so, a guy can take, like I said earlier, I take like 15 a day of the EFAs, and it just does a huge amount of good for me. And, Jay, I'm really glad that you're smart enough to take in the right information and take your health in your hands, and I'm going to do whatever I can to see about ironing this situation out. Send me an email, mike@teamglidden.ca, and if you don't get a answer from these guys, I'll see what I can do on this end, and there's no reason we shouldn't have you on track real quick here.
Okay, thank you much.
Jay, take care. We're going to let you go, and we're going to jump over to Maria in California. Maria, how are you?
I am well, thank you very much.
Well, that's good to hear.
I wasn't listening to the show, so I apologize. I was actually talking to my doctors over here. So I didn't realize that Dr. Glidden wasn't on, and
That's okay.
I'm new to the show, listening to the show, so I'm not sure who you are exactly, if you're a doctor yourself. But I have quite a bit of a situation here. My dad is an 83-year-old male, diagnosed with ALS in September of 2004. But he had symptoms about 2 years prior.
Yeah.
He was trached in July of 2005, and he's been dependent ever since. He has a gastrostomy tube since that time period also. All his food is blenderized via the Vitamix, so all his supplements and everything that he gets will have to be crushed down and put down the tube somehow. Yeah. He's totally bedbound, no apparent mental cognition. He doesn't have any spontaneous interaction. He does open his eyes, he grimaces, he yawns, but he really doesn't have any other movements.
Yeah.
He does gaze a lot towards the right a lot. I don't see any fasciculations anymore on him. He has only had 4 hospitalizations in 9 years, a total of 11 days. The last one was in June of this year, and the prior one was in 2008. So he's been pretty well maintained at home. But in June of this year, he ended up having hyponatremia with a sodium of 116, and I was really worried he was going to start going into convulsions. But I don't think he did, which is hard to say if he did or did not. He had an albumin at that point of 2.5, so he was really hypo there. He had a UTI, he had pneumonia, he had a pleural effusion, which he never had before. He ended up having a thoracentesis. They nicked the lung, so he ended up with a pneumothorax. They had to put a chest tube in for 4 days. He had, there was questionable CHF, congestive heart upon discharge. He also ended up with hypothyroidism. So he came home on Lasix with 20 milligrams QD. He came home with Synthroid, 25 micrograms QD. That was up to 37.5, and now it's up to 50 because it's still low. He was on Reglan 10 ACHS. He was on KCL 20 milliequivalents QD. He went home with WBCs of 15, hemoglobin of 10, hematocrit of 30. Platelets were fine at 415. His sodium was 142. His potassium was 3.7. BUN was fine, 20.2. So now what has happened? I started him on Youngevity in early September, mid-September. And because I was told, ALS patients have been known to get off the trach and get up and walk. So I thought, who am I to withhold that possibility from my dad? So I put him on Youngevity. And I'm not sure I've noticed any benign changes in him. Perhaps he does move his pinky. I'm not sure if it's a reflex, if it's a flicker. There might be something new there. I'm not sure. But in the meantime, in mid-October, his sodium level dropped a lot. It was 129 again.
Okay.
And again, I worry about him going too low. And the reason I'm zeroing in on maybe Youngevity has something to do with it is because my question really is, I have several questions.
Okay, Maria, hang on. I hear the music. That means we're going into a break, but I'm going to bring you back on the other side, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. We're live on Fire Your MD Now Radio. This is Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. Before the break, we were talking to Maria. She's real worried about her dad. And so I just want to go over a couple things before you go on with your questions. So he's 83, and you got him going with Youngevity in September?
Yes.
So it hasn't been that long, and he's on a feeding tube, right?
He's on a feeding tube.
Yeah.
He's been on a feeding tube since 2005.
Right. So you've been just putting stuff into the tube thus far.
That's the only way that he can get anything inside of him. So I put the powders into his food, or actually I make a drink of it. I make it in 20 ounces of water.
Okay. What have you been giving him?
I've been giving him the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. The Ultimate Selenium, I give it to him 2 TID 3 times a day. I give him the Ultimate EFA, 2 TID. I give him the Distress 4 BID, Cell Shield 2 Q Day, Ultimate CM 3 Q Day, and the Smart FX 3 TID.
And you're not seeing any improvement?
Like I said, there might be a flicker in his pinky. It might be reflex. It might be something, new energy coming through. I started feeding him the eggs because I didn't know about the eggs until maybe a month ago. So like 2 weeks into it. I started out with 4 eggs a day, and the most I've given him is 9 eggs a day because then he started having a lot of diarrhea. I don't know if that was related to either Youngevity or the eggs or just a coincidence. So I felt I had to back off, and I give him the eggs. I kind of mix and match. They're either raw and they're organic, and I wash them really well. They're either raw or they're soft boiled, and that's the only way I give it to him. Now, my questions are regarding the effect, the longevity effect on clotting factors, because in mid-October I started noticing a lot of petechiae in his body, and hang on to that thought. And then my second question is regarding fluid recommendations, and my third question is regarding Sweet Easy. But in mid-October, his sodium dropped to 130, his albumin was 3.3, and his hemoglobin was 9.4 and 28, with a BUN of 30. Now, on Sunday, he started having an unexplained fever. Couldn't figure out where it was coming from. It was 101.7. I couldn't see anything except that he looked even more lethargic. But I couldn't, the phlegm was the same, the sputum, everything was the same, the urine at that point looked the same. Anyway, to cut to the chase, his urine ended up with gross hematuria. And his 2 weeks prior to Sunday, every time I gave him, it seemed to me, and it could have been coincidence, every time I gave him the drink, within an hour, his urine would end up having so much sediment. It looked like sediment. It looked like pus even. It looked like I had placed the drink inside his Foley catheter bag. It looked exactly the same as what went in to what went out in the tube. I thought, is there sediment? Is there actual powders in there? Is there pus in there? I actually felt the urine instead of just dumping it out. And it felt just like water. It didn't feel like I had sand in my hand or pus or something gooey in my hand. It just was an interesting color change. But it comes, you can actually see the urine coming through the tube. It'll come out red. Yeah. With looks a lot of blood, and then it comes out like it has pus. And then it looks like I put the tangerine inside of it and mixed it up there, and it looks like that. Well, he ended up having a UA because the nurses came out to see him, and they drew blood work. They took a UA. They even did a chest X-ray to see if that pleural effusion was back, because he's starting to pull air again. He's not breathing right. I have to change the vent settings on him. His H&H dropped to 7.8. And again, I don't know if you're a doctor, if these numbers mean anything to you, but that's pretty low. 7.823. His WBCs are normal at 8.8 with no shift, but he ended up with a UTI. And they're telling me they're going to put him on Levaquin for 7 days today. His platelets are fine at 245, and yet I have all that all that blood. I have, the UA showed, of course, 3+ blood. It showed 2+ protein, so he's spilling protein on me. He has a bloody, cloudy, sedimentally looking, pussy looking urine. The cytology is pending. They're looking for tumor cells.
Maria, I got to stop you right here. I hear the music, and that means we're going into a commercial break, and I'm going to tell you what I think exactly on the other side of this. So stay right where you are. Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Glidden. We'll be back. Welcome back to the show. Mike Phillip filling in once again for Dr. Peter Glidden. Now, before the break, we were talking with Maria in California, and her dad is in some really rough shape. Now, I've been listening to you for the last little while, and it sounds to me, Maria, like nothing is getting absorbed, okay? It sounds to me like his intestinal tract is in really bad shape. Now, the only way things don't work out is if it's not getting absorbed or if you're not using the right amounts. Now, that being said, before you go any further, Dr. Glidden is a lot more experienced than I am with these matters, and this one I'm going to refer you to him. I want you to call back on Monday and speak to Dr. Glidden, because if it was me, what I would do is I would switch products to more liquids. I would go with the plant-derived minerals and a few other things. But I am very interested in hearing. I have the
plant-derived minerals. I just haven't given them to him because they're for somebody else, really. But what would I do with those?
Well, same thing. I would put them in the feeding tube. And I would go, how much does your dad weigh?
120.
Okay, yeah. So I would be giving him about 2 ounces a day of that. Now, if you've got that and you can do that over the weekend, it's not going to hurt him. But I definitely want you to call back Monday when Dr. Glidden's in, Maria, because he's going to have far better advice than me, but that's where I would start. Because from what you've told me so far, sounds to me like he's got a compromised small intestine, and this stuff is going straight through him, and that's not going to do him any good.
Well, no, and the wallet neither. But,
no, exactly. But you know what? Dr. Glidden's been practicing for about 25 years, and he's going to know a few tricks that I don't. So, I'm pretty good with people with run-of-the-mill stuff going on, but you're in a very complicated situation, and you need to talk to the master.
Now, will he listen to this recording? Because I'm sure the audience is not going to want to hear this whole story all over again.
You know what? That's what the show is for. So you call back on Monday and give him the rundown just like you did. Don't worry about the audience. It's not about the audience. It's about you and your dad right now. Okay?
Yes, and being Friday, to tell you the truth, after speaking with the doctor yesterday and the nurses today, they don't think he has much time.
Well, and you know what? That's the other thing that kept coming back to me, Maria. I wish you'd have found us about 5 or 10 years ago. You know what I mean? A lot of the people that we get coming to us are in really bad shape and expecting a miracle. And, I have seen miracles. I have seen really crazy turnarounds in health. But, the guy's 83 and he's got the feeding tube going on and he's not moving. And, if there's anything that can be done, Dr. Glidden's going to be the guy. So don't worry about the listening audience, okay? Just call back on Monday and explain this situation to Dr. Glidden. But in the meantime, Maria, if I was you, I would start putting a couple of ounces of plant-derived minerals in that feeding tube and let Dr. Glidden know what I said and see if you see any changes, because the plant-derived minerals can work very fast. And if you're seeing it going straight through him, that's not going to be the case with the minerals, because they are so small. We're talking trace amounts that they're going to get into his system. Okay?
And what happens if I give him more? It's like I want to fix this, and I know I need to be patient.
You know what? Giving him more is not going to hurt him. It's not going to hurt him. Like, it's not like he's going to overdose or anything. You know what I mean? So, if you want to go 3-4 ounces a day, go ahead.
Okay. And should I stop everything else in the meantime?
You know what? If it's going straight through them, I would, because you're just dumping it.
Right.
Right? So the plant-derived minerals, I would go with the EFAs, right? Busting them up and putting the amino and fatty acids into the feeding tube with the plant-derived minerals.
What I do is I soften them by just putting them in liquid. I just put them in not even hot water. It's like very tepid, warm water. They get really soft, and I just ooze out the oil, and I put it into his tube that way. I mixed it up in food. So I'm hoping I'm not leaving a lot of the actual oils inside that encapsulated thing, that capsule thing, that gel thing. I'm hoping I'm taking enough out from it, doing it that way.
Yeah, you know what? There's no harm and no foul in just taking a pin or a knife or something and poking a hole in the gel cap and just dumping it straight in as well.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Because that's the important thing. But yeah, if this stuff is going straight through them.
So just the EFAs. I don't have to do anything with the Smart FX or.
I would go, for now, if I was you, from what you've told me, I would go with the EFAs and the plant-derived minerals, because, if it's coming out of him in his catheter in granular form, you're wasting it, in my mind's eye, right? And if there's anything that can be done, Dr. Glidden's going to have a whole bag of tricks that I don't know about. And, it's the kind of thing at this point where, you cross your fingers and do what you can. And I really hope that you can get your dad back, Maria, because, I have a dad too, and I wouldn't want to see this happening to him. But call Dr. Glidden, try the plant-derived minerals over the weekend, and see what Dr. Glidden has to say on Monday. All right, Maria? I apologize that I can't go any further, but my knowledge is limited compared to his. And if there's anything else that can be done, he's going to be a whole lot more useful than me. All right?
Okay, let me ask you one real fast question regarding Sweet Easy. If someone had what they call borderline diabetes, and they were on the Sweet Easy, and the last the last lab draw a month ago was normal.
Yeah.
Should she continue the Sweet Easy, or is it stop it at that point?
Yes, I would continue. Here's the deal. I've seen people that have gotten their numbers up to normal and then quit right away, and they went right back. Now, here's the
Because
thing.
sometimes she gets really, when she's on it, she gets very weak feeling, like if she was having a hypoglycemic reaction.
Yeah, no, they're not going to hurt her. I would keep her on them for at least another 3 months or so. Like, I've seen people that have had to go above and beyond just to get a leg up on a problem, specifically diabetes or arthritis and things like that. And after a certain period of time, when they're fully nutritionalized, they're able to cut back on what they're taking and go to a maintenance dose. But I wouldn't just cut it off right away. I would keep it going. And I would, if she's using the Sweeties already, I would add the plant-derived minerals to that.
She is. Sorry, taking
Oh,
those.
good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, so keep that going, Maria. Thank you so much for calling. And once again, I wish I could help you out more. But the situation that you're describing to me, I think that Dr. Glidden would be a lot better to address these questions.
Okay. All right. I'll try on Monday then. Thank you.
All right, Maria. Thank you for calling. And get a hold of Dr. Glidden. And he's going to have a lot more to say on this. Now, that's the thing. I'm the Friday host, and I can deal with a whole lot of things, but Dr. Glidden, this is his show, and he is definitely the master, okay? So, we're going to totally switch gears back now, and I'm going to go back to what I was talking about earlier with men's health issues. And if you were listening to that last call, you've got Maria calling in, and her dad's got ALS and all these other problems. And I doubt that this would be the case if she had found us, say, 5 or 10 years earlier, maybe even 2 years earlier. That's the thing. You don't want to let yourself get to the situation where things are so far gone that you're expecting a miracle, okay? Now, I've seen really great recoveries, miraculous recoveries. But I'll tell you, there is a point of no return. And I hate to see it. And I can tell that Maria really loves her dad and she's real concerned about this situation. But you need to get your health together now while you still feel good. Don't let yourself get to the point where you've got a feeding tube and a catheter and you're laying in a hospital all day. Okay? Take matters into your hands now, people. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. The number is 844-374-5433. And we are going to talk a little bit more about Movember. Now, there's all these big pushes. There's all these marketing campaigns to get people to think about health issues. Awareness is the cure, right? Well, no, it's not. Because we're already aware that this is going on. Now, in Canada, for 3 years in a row, we were the top fundraisers in the world in raising money for Movember. And what Movember is, you grow a mustache to raise awareness on men's health issues. So, Canada raised more than $33.9 million last year alone, bringing the total to 151.6 since Canada first became officially involved in the Movember movement in 2007. Okay? $151.6 million. Now, on the same site, they've got a link that goes to this, where $5 million of your Movember fundraising money went. $5 million. It happens each year, okay? On Wednesday, $5 million of that Canadian funding was doled out to 3 prostate cancer research projects in Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec. Doctors hope their work could result in 3 innovative ways to test for aggressive forms of prostate cancer. $5 million went to research to find out what tests would work to find it in the first place. And that's not to mention, what are we going to do if we do find it? Okay, $5 million out of $151 million. Well, me being the kind of guy that I am, I ask myself, where's the other $146 million? Where'd that go? Well, $5 million later, they came up with this. Should you get a prostate screening test? New guidelines are against it. So first of all, you're supposed to. Now you're not. Listen to this. Prostate cancer is the most common cancer in Canadian men, but how soon should they test for it? In new guidelines, a national task force suggests the prostate screening test is doing more harm than good. It's causing overdiagnosis, infection, and other complications. Infection, get that. You go in to get tested for a deadly disease, and the test causes an infection that ends up doing serious damage or killing you. Think about it. Prostate cancer is now one of the most commonly diagnosed, but one of the reasons for that is because we're doing so much testing. So their job is to find something. They're going to, even if it's not there, because mama needs a new pair of shoes. Mike Phillips filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. We are live on Fire Your MD Now Radio, and this is the last segment on this Friday show, October 31st, 2014. And let me just tell you, I'm very proud to be hosting this show, and I've been putting together a television studio here in my house, and we're going to be doing a video podcast. So I'll let you know exactly where you can get a hold of that in the near future. Been working with a great team of guys. Now, if you want to get involved with Youngevity, shoot me an email, mike@teamglidden.ca. mike@teamglidden.ca. Now, before the break, we were talking about, Dr. Glidden's always talking about how they move the goalposts all the time on the different numbers and the tests. This amount of cholesterol is good, this amount's bad. Well, we found out that this is bad and this is good. And they keep moving things around and changing it. And here's the deal. The house always wins. Okay? They're not doing these things in your best interest. So you would be wise to take your health into your hands now while you're feeling okay, and don't get to that point when you're in the bed with the feeding tube. And if you're in that situation, I feel real bad for you. But, I mean, it's kind of a deal where you do what you can and you cross your fingers, right? We're in a bad situation. We are, but things are going to get better, and I believe that from the bottom of my heart. I really do. Over the past 10 years, I've seen the numbers go up in the amounts of cancer going on. I've seen the numbers go up in diabetes, high blood pressure, bone and joint pain. It's all around us. But you know what? There is a glimmer of hope, and I believe that people are smart enough, once they hear the truth, that they'll be able to make a change in their life and the lives of people around them. Selenium, fucoidan, B vitamins, C vitamins, D vitamins. We're constantly hearing about Ebola. We're constantly hearing about cancer. We're constantly hearing about all these different things. But you know what? You don't have to get it. You don't have to die from that stuff. Well, I mean, we're all going to die, right? It's not a matter of when. It's a matter of how. Are you going to die ugly? Or are you going to die a beautiful death surrounded by family and friends in a well-earned life? Think about it. Not only that, but there's a great business opportunity here. Youngevity will pay you to get the knowledge you need to help out your family and friends. And if there's things that are beyond what you can deal with, that's why Dr. Glidden is there. That's why this show is here. Now, Dr. Glidden's a real busy guy. He's dealing with a lot. And that's why I'm here. Become an insider, $20 a month, and you can get a university level education in 2 hours on any subject. It's the best thing that you can possibly do. Now, there was a time in our society when people looked after their own health. Okay? You remember the Beverly Hillbillies? Every time somebody's sick, Granny trunched off into the woods and made a mix of roots and herbs and different things, and it always worked. Well, we've gone from that situation to one where you have to have a prescription and you have to go crawling on your hands and knees to Merck or GlaxoSmithKline. Well, I don't want that. I'm tired of that. They failed me. They failed my family for a whole lot of years. There's a better way. Mike Phillip filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden here on Fire Your MD Now Radio. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll be back with Dr. Glidden on Monday.